Right.
I think it's worth noting that when spring training started, if I told you this was going to be the starting rotation, you would have asked what I was smoking.
I would have thrown myself out a window 6 weeks ago if you told me that. Yeah.
Yeah.
You are Locked On Yankees, your daily New York Yankees podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Yankees, which is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you for making us your first listen every day. I am one of your hosts, Stacey Gotsulias, and with me, as usual, my co-host, Brian McKeon. Brian.
Stacey, opening day.
We're here.
Yes, we made it.
We made it. And if you're watching on YouTube, you'll notice at the bottom of the screen, it doesn't say spring training report anymore because it's not spring training anymore. It's opening day. Before we get started, don't forget, subscribe to Locked On Yankees on whichever podcasting platform you prefer. Subscribe to our channel on YouTube, like our videos, hit the bell so you're notified whenever our videos go live. And announcement time, we have a TikTok.
Thank God.
Yeah, I will superimpose the TikTok address onto the video and I will put it in the audio description and you can follow us there. We'll put some videos up for the season. On today's show, we preview the opening day matchup between the Yankees and the visiting Brewers. We're going to look at the AL East and reveal how we think the season's going to play out. But first, who made the roster and who didn't make the roster in time for opening day?
Yeah, this news just released, I believe. So we're going to see the guys who made it onto the 40-man roster, and I do have a lineup that was released, not from the Yankees officially, but from a Yankee source that believes that this is the most likely lineup we're going to see. So, Stacey, the rotation is going to be as we thought: Rodon, Fried, Stroman, Carrasco, Warren, which I think is worth noting. During spring,
wait, is that what we thought?
No, well, that's what we thought up until 48 hours ago.
Right.
I think it's worth noting that when spring training started, if I told you this was going to be the starting rotation, you would have asked what I was smoking.
I would have thrown myself out a window 6 weeks ago if you told me that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, not ideal for what the Yankees are looking for this season, and I think more so what it does is it drastically changes the expectations, and we'll discuss more of that in segment 2 of what is expected out of them in this division, which, quite frankly, is going to be a very talented division. But yeah, I mean, it's an interesting thing to see with the way the roster went. Giancarlo, Stanton, DJ LeMahieu, along with 8 players, are starting the year on the injured list. There is really no update on anybody, to be honest with you. It looks like Giancarlo hasn't picked up baseball activities yet. DJ has not picked up baseball activities yet, other than like basic working out, but not baseball activities, baseball specific activities. So it's not clear when their injury woes are going to be finished here. Clark Schmidt should be back soon. They're expecting maybe a week or 2. So Cookie Carrasco's got some pressure on him in his first couple starts because I'm assuming he's the first guy out if once Clark Schmidt gets back. But Jonathan Loaizaga is still working through coming back. Ian Hamilton still recovering from that viral illness, and now he's got a setback just because wasn't able to be working out and stuff with the team. Scott Efros is going to be starting the year on the IL with his hamstring strain. JT Brubaker is also going to be he's got the rib fractures, and Clayton Beater is still also out. So those are the guys that are starting the year on the IL. And Yeri De Los Santos is going to start the year in AAA. I know there was kind of talk, could he make the roster or not? He's going to start in AAA. I'm assuming at some point we'll see him at the major league level this year. Other than that, any major surprises coming from you when it came to roster moves, or it's pretty much what we've expected? Post-injury, pretty much what we've expected.
Yeah, I think it's pretty much what we expected. I would agree.
Not too many surprises at all.
No.
The lineup that sort of has really been agreed upon with most pundits in the baseball world that they think is going to be the Yankee lineup for I guess later on today's game, if you're listening to this in the morning, against the Milwaukee Brewers. 3:00 is the game, by the way, and it's on Fox, not Yes. So you'll hear Joe Buck actually call this game, which is going to be fun to hear if you're a baseball fan.
I thought it was ESPN.
Yeah, actually, it is ESPN. You're right. Because Joe Buck used to be a Fox guy. Wow, I'm dating myself on that one. Actually, this is the lineup that supposedly is pretty much all agreed on that they're going to go with. In this game, it's not what it's another thing that I did not see coming at the start of spring training. I think as spring training developed a little more, this lineup became more legitimate and more. There was more of a point that this could be the lineup. I want to know what your thoughts are though on it, because I don't think we've really dove into this lineup much. We've discussed guys in individual positions of the lineup, but not specifically as a whole lineup and how it rounds out.
I think, yeah, we talked about the top 4 basically, but we didn't talk about the rest of it. Yeah.
So the top 4 stays consistent of what we've talked about. It looks like from every account, they're going to lead off Wells, obviously catching, but he's going to lead off a leadoff left-handed hitting catcher. I'd love to know if that's ever happened before, because there's not a lot of left-handed hitting catchers in the history of baseball. And leading off is definitely not a position that catchers, I mean, there probably were catchers that had the ability to lead off in the past, but managers just wouldn't lead them off just because that's just not what you do. So that's an interesting spot. I don't hate it at all, though, to be honest with you, especially with the way Wells has hit this spring.
Yeah, he's looked good. He's looked good and powerful also.
Yes.
So
they'll say they're going to go Judge in second, Judge batting second and right. No surprises there. Bellinger in center. No surprises there. Goldschmidt at first, cleaning up. Then it looks like it gets a little different than we sort of could have expected. Second base, Jazz batting fifth. Batting sixth at shortstop is going to be Volpe. Batting seventh in left field, Jason Dominguez. Eighth at DH, Ben Rice. And ninth, from all accounts, it looks like Oswaldo Cabrera has won the third base job, at least for opening day. They're not going to announce a winner, I wouldn't expect, because why would you? What does that do for anyone's confidence? There's no reason to really do that at this point. So I don't think they're going to announce a winner for the third base job. They're probably going to rotate them as much as possible. It's interesting. The Ben Rice stuff. He's going to be the DH, obviously, because of Stanton being out. There's some expectations for him. He had a great spring. He put on the muscle. That's been a big talking point. I don't hate that there's going to be expectations for him. It depends on what he's able to give you. This does make me curious, though. What are they going to do with him when Stanton gets back? Because there's that big, ugly salary that's attached to Giancarlo Stanton and the stature of him as a player as well. Are you going to be able to justify sitting Ben Rice for Giancarlo Stanton? If Giancarlo Stanton's back in mid-May, Stacey, and Ben Rice has 13 homers, what do you do? Like, you know what I mean? It's a tricky question that they're going to put themselves in.
Yeah. I don't expect him to be back by mid-May. If he's not doing anything right now, we're not seeing him until
June,
at least
July.
June, at least, and maybe
It's
even by
so
the All-Star break. It's bad. But let's talk about Ben Rice just for a second while we have time.
Mm-hmm.
This was put up on Blue Sky by a man named Thomas Nestico. Not sure how to say it, but these are exit velocities and certain guys and the differences. Look at Ben Rice in there.
It's pretty wild.
That's a pretty big difference right there. Also, Anthony Volpe was on that list at one point because he also has increased his exit velocity, but Ben Rice, finished spring training with 5 home runs, none of them cheapies either. You can see visibly how much bigger he is now. And the expectations for him, I mean, this is like the perfect opportunity for him with Stanton out for him to, because otherwise, if Stanton were healthy, then it really would have been more him against Escara for backup catcher.
Yeah.
And I wonder how different spring training would have played out with Stanton healthy and that battle actually happening. With Stanton not healthy, this completely changes Rice's trajectory at the moment. They probably could still use him as a backup catcher, depending on what's going on and matchups and whatever. But this is an interesting turn of events, right? Like we said 6 weeks ago, you didn't think this would happen. but I think Ben Rice is going to be around for a while because I don't see Stanton coming back anytime
He's
soon.
going to have every opportunity to play his way onto the lineup every single day. Now,
Yeah.
again, we saw Greg Bird a few years ago have the spring training of a lifetime and then had an awful season. So we don't know what's going to come. Like, there's many guys that we've seen have great spring trainings and then completely flop when opening day turns around. So we don't know. I do want to mention this.
You know what? The same thing could happen to Wells because he had an incredible spring training.
Completely agree. And everybody from the expectation for Wells is insanely high because everybody inside baseball seems to think that Wells is going to be represent the American League in the All-Star game. That's how good they think the season Wells is going to have. I do want to mention this because I don't want to be too presumptuous, but I don't think that I'm being too overboard here with saying this. I'd like to get your opinion on it before we move on to the next segment. This is a big year for Anthony Volpe. He seemed to have found something in the postseason, especially from the ALCS on last year. You got to be, I mean, you have the home run in game 4, the Grand Slam. I think you saw a lot out of his postseason at-bats. But let's be real, Stacey. This is a guy that didn't run as much as he probably could last year. His power numbers did decrease from his rookie year last year. His on-base percentage was below 300 last year. And that's a concern to me. Young player like that, you've got to get that eye a little more under control. I don't want to say that I'm giving up on Anthony Volpe if this season is not a successful season for him. But there could become a point this year where it's going to be, all right, prove it to me that you're a starting caliber shortstop in this league. This is his 3rd year in the league. His on-base percentage has struggled. He's not running as much as we'd like him to. And let's be real, they chose to not sign Corey Seager because they thought this kid was the future. And that's their decision. They're going to have to live with it. But I think this year might be by July, the narrative might become prove it or lose it for Anthony Volpe.
Let's move this to the next segment. I have a question. We'll move this question to the next segment, and then we'll go into the AL East stuff because we don't want to go too long. Don't forget, subscribe to the channel, hit the like button on our videos, hit the notifications so you know when our videos go up. You can also join the Locked On Yankees Insiders Club. The link is in the description. You get text from us. You can text us questions, comments, reactions to trades and signings. We send out lineups during the season, roster moves, and breaking news so you don't have to check social media. There is a 14-day free trial. Coming up next, I'm going to ask Brian a question, and then we're going to look at the AL East, and we're going to talk about how we think things are going to shake out.
Baseball season is going to be in full swing, and there's no better way to get on the action than with Prize Picks. It's the best place for daily fantasy sports. And with Prize Picks, you pick more or less on at least 2 player projections, and if you're right, you can win up to 1,000 times your cash. Imagine those odds, whether it's strikeouts, RBIs, or first inning runs. Prize Picks keeps every game exciting. And this week, I'm going to be picking Aaron Judge for more than 1 home run to get the season started off on a hot note. And Shohei Ohtani for more than 1 stolen base, coming off a 50 stolen base season. It could be that easy, guys. Setting up a lineup takes less than 60 seconds. And when you win, your payout comes out quick. It's safe and it's secure. I always take advantage of the Taco Tuesday promo where Prize Picks offers discounts on select player projections for even more value. It's really terrific. Download the app today. Use code LOCKED on MLB. You get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKED on MLB for $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game. And Locked On Yankees is also brought to you by Supply House. Get the supplies you need from the site that's made for skilled trades, Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with the complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400-plus top brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. You need help with an order? Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And for trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free TradeMaster program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage, and now it's your turn. So join the TradeMaster program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, you can use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Thanks again for making Locked On Yankees your first listen. Remember that every Friday is Fan Mail Friday. You can leave questions underneath our pinned comment on our videos Monday through Thursday, or you can join the Locked On Yankees Insiders Club. Those fans get top priority during Fan Mail Friday. The link is in our description. So, Stacey, word around the street is that there's a question for me to lead off segment 2, and I'm interested to hear what it is.
So you're talking about Volpe not taking advantage of being the type of player that the Yankees want him to be, where he's speedy on the bases, he gets on the bases, he wreaks havoc on the bases. Do you think having Jason Dominguez in the lineup with him, who is the type of player who can get on base and make things happen, maybe that kind of lights something under Volpe's butt to think, hey, maybe if there's two of us doing this back to back on the bases, we can make things happen?
Twofold. It's a combination of two things. Yes, I think Jason Dominguez changes this lineup drastically. He runs really well. This is a guy who stole 40 bases a few years ago in the minors. So Jason Dominguez definitely has an ability to run and is going to run. I think that forces Volpe to kind of change his game and show places that he can impact the game. So I think Volpe's on base percentage to me needs to be at like 335 this year. It needs to be up. A player like that cannot get on base less than 30% of the time, especially with the way that the sport has gone. Listen, that's the thing though, Stacey. With his running ability, with his fielding ability, and with the little bit of pop that Volpe has in his bat, if he gets on base with a 335 on base percentage, that's a good player. In the middle of your lineup, in the lower third of your lineup, that's a really solid player, but you need him to get there. And he's got to prove that he can be there. The other part of this that I think is very intriguing, and I think the Yankees are a team that does tend to learn from other teams. We always talk about them not wanting to run as much because the analytics don't teach you to run as much. Well, one of the only teams that are more analytical than the Yankees in baseball right now are the Los Angeles Dodgers. And what did the Dodgers prove last year, specifically in the World Series? Men on base that are willing to run can cause problems for the other team on defense. You saw it specifically with Aaron Judge, who had his eye focused on who was on third base and dropped a pop fly in center field, which 900 billion% of the time, Aaron Judge catches that ball. The one time he dropped it, there happened to be a runner on base. That was tagging up. That kind of made him overthink things. Probably took his eye off the ball. That's what happened. Guys on base that are willing to run and are known as guys that are willing to cause havoc on base causes other teams to just screw up and just overthink things. It's part of baseball. It's been a part of baseball for a long time. The Dodgers found a way last year to blend their portion of analytics along with an old school kind of play in being, bratty on the base paths. The Yankees have plenty of guys in their lineup right now, Stacey, that can be those guys on the base paths. They do. Cody Bellinger is a really good base stealer. Jason Dominguez, Anthony Volpe, you have speed on the bases. They have to utilize it this year, especially in a lineup that's going to need to find a way to get some runs scored.
Yep.
I want to talk about the AL East here, Stacey, because I don't know how you're feeling right now. I've kind of determined who I think is going to win this division, and I think this team has gone from not a lot of people believing in them to a ton of people believing in them going into opening day later on today. Just flat out simple. If I'm taking all the money that you've got in the world and putting it on a team to win the American League East this year, who's doing it?
Boston Red Sox.
I couldn't agree with you more. I couldn't. I don't. Here's the thing, Stacey. I don't know how, as a person who follows this sport, you can look at the Boston Red Sox and what they've done this offseason and not just love every bit of what they've done. I mean, they completely, pretty much overhauled a lot of their roster and got so much better. I mean, their pitching rotation just alone. Garrett Crochet, Tanner Houck, Brian Bello, Walker Buehler, Lucas Giolito. That is an awesome starting pitching staff. They just announced earlier today that Rafael Devers will be the full-time DH, or earlier yesterday, that Rafael Devers will be the full-time DH. Alex Bregman will play third base. Trevor Story has finished the spring hitting .333 with 2 homers and 8 RBIs. He's on fire. Their farm system is amazing. Their bullpen has Aroldis Chapman, Liam Hendricks, and Garrett Whitlock in it. Where's the weakness, Stacey? They are good in every aspect of the game right now. It's incredible how good of an offseason they had and how under the radar it was. They really are great.
Yeah, it was under the radar because I can't remember who it was, which baseball pundit it was who was predicting win totals for every team in baseball. And when I saw the AL East, it was Baltimore Yankees, then Red Sox. And I thought, I don't know about that.
Yeah, that brings me to the next team that I want to discuss, because we've talked about it a little bit in the offseason, but I think we just need to reiterate this before the season starts. Why are so many people high on Baltimore? I know the young talent's there. I totally understand. But Stacey, they lost their ace, the only ace they had in their rotation, lost him. Their best power hitter statistically, and look it up, Anthony Santander is gone. He's a Blue Jay right now. They really did not make an upgrade in the offseason. And if you want to talk about the signings they made, they ignored the two major pieces they lost. They didn't go out and get a power bat to replace Santander, and they didn't go out and get a great pitcher, like nowhere near the level of Corbin Burns. I know the young talent's there, but the young talent's arrived, Stacey. Other than Jackson Holiday, who potentially could be coming into his own with a full season and having a great year. Gunnar Henderson's arrived. He had 40 home runs last year. He's a top-tier talent in this league. Am I missing something, or do you see Baltimore taking a step back? Because I don't know what the heck they did this offseason.
Yeah, they were the team that should have angered more people.
Yeah.
Meaning they should have been in on Juan Soto. They should have done more this offseason. They have a new owner. Everyone was expecting them to spend money. They have this young core that they're wasting now because they're wasting them now. I know that the joke was a couple of years ago that Baltimore was going to be good until the early 2030s, but you're starting to waste them a little bit now. And the fact that they did nothing in the offseason is just a bad look, especially for new ownership. And I think that they're not going to be bad, obviously. They're just going to be
but that's the point, though.
Yeah.
It's unacceptable. For a team at the level that they are, this is when you strike, man. It is. This is when you need to strike. It's every sport, when your top tier players are young, making no money, you have to strike when the iron's hot right here. And they just didn't. I don't know. I can't make an understanding for it. There were a lot of guys available. Again, apparently Corbin Burns just wanted to play in Arizona, which is fine, but there were other pitchers available. They didn't speak to Max Fried, which makes no sense to me. I don't get what they did. There is another team in this division. I think neither of us really kind of think that Tampa's going to go far, right? Junior Caminero is a big storyline. Let's see what he winds up doing. He really didn't hit for average, but he's a top-tier young power hitter. I don't think I expect much out of Tampa Bay, but if they win the division, who would be surprised either? The team that's really interesting to me is Toronto. And before we move on to the next segment, I do want to get your opinion on Toronto, because they've got a really unique opportunity here with the extension of Vlad not going through. And he's basically not going to renegotiate until he hits free agency at this point. They have enough talent on this team, Stacey, where by June, they have a unique opportunity where they could tear it down, but have enough talent where if they go on a full fire sale, they're going to get a boatload of really good prospects back. Or they could go for it. They signed Jeff Hoffman in the offseason. They have good starters. There's a lot of pieces on this team between good starters, good bullpen pieces, really good offensive pieces. They have a lot of pieces that teams are going to want at the deadline. So Toronto's in a really weird spot. But I think with the talent they have on the roster, if they're not confident Vlad's going to come back, Stacey, I think the move would be to tear it down, rebuild your farm, because you could be competitive in the next 3 years if you do it the right way.
Right. Yeah, I think, Toronto's an interesting case. They're not as bad as Baltimore when it comes to not taking advantage of their young core, though they're sort of there because they also had a promising threesome of youngsters. They brought in guys that you thought could complement them and make the team better. And they made the playoffs a couple times, but like Baltimore, they're getting swept out of the wild card round. They're not really making much noise in the playoffs. And it almost feels like these teams are the complaint that Yankee fans have about the Yankees, where it seems the Yankees are just content to make the playoffs. It feels the same for Baltimore and Toronto with the way they're operating lately.
Yeah, but those teams don't unfortunately come into the season with the expectation of World Series or bust. So they have a little bit of leeway when it comes to it,
No, but that's what I'm saying. it's not that they have a World Series expectation, but you have teams that have these exciting young players. Those are the types of teams that you want to build around, and they're just doing like the status quo, and they're not, especially Baltimore. Baltimore is the worst out of the two of them. At least Toronto's making some moves, and they do have a chance to sign Vlad if they do well enough this year where he wants to stay after the season and get that extension and doesn't want to try and
I don't know if he's going to get the money he thinks that he's getting, but
yeah.
They're in a really interesting spot, Toronto. I'm very interested to see what they wind up doing, because if they're not where they need to be at the deadline or before that, they have a really good opportunity to really rebuild this farm system in a quick manner. Just quickly before we hit the break, I think we're both down on Baltimore. We both have Boston winning the division. Do you also have the Yankees finishing second in a wild card spot, or do you have them below Baltimore?
I see them winning a wild card spot. I think it's going to be one of those years where one division has all the spots, if that makes sense. Like, I think that's what's going to happen. And I think the Yankees will have one of the wild card spots. I'm just not sure which one. Yeah,
it's going to be fascinating. It really is. The Yankees win total did drop significantly. But you know, they've got to go forward with the cards they're dealt. It's going to be without Gerrit Cole, but it doesn't mean this team still can't win 86, 87 games. We're going to see that start off later on today. Coming up next, we're going to preview, actually, that pitching matchup, minus Gerrit Cole, which no one expected. But let's see what Carlos Rodon's going to be able to do. Looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Now, Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Now, plus they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller for longer. Now, personally, I love the no shells variety. It's the perfect grab and go snack for my busy days. Whether I'm snacking at my desk on a road trip or just need a quick protein boost, they're always my go-to. And if you love cracking open every shell for that satisfying crunch, the in-shell options are also a classic favorite. And whether you're running between meetings or dropping off the kids, Wonderful Pistachios are the snack that works as hard as you do. So get snacking and get cracking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. So, Stacey, the opening day matchup is going to be Carlos Rodon versus Freddie Peralta for the Milwaukee Brewers. Definitely the expectation was Gerrit Cole, but Yankees, like we said in the last segment, are going to have to move forward with what they have. This is still a talented roster, and it's still a $300 million roster. This is still a team that should win north of 85 games, be able to get into the postseason, and they could make noise in the postseason. Are they a World Series winning team? I wouldn't say that right now, but I mean, who the heck knows? I mean, the Los Angeles Dodgers lost Tyler Glasnow last year. Didn't have Clayton Kershaw in the postseason. Crazier stuff has happened in a weak American League. Carlos Rodon last year, 32 starts, a 16-9, a 3.96 ERA with 195 strikeouts. Now, I wanted to bring this up to you because Baseball Reference's projection for 2025 has Carlos Rodon at 11-9. A 4.15 ERA with 167 strikeouts. I think we can both agree, Stacey, if the Yankees are going to make noise this year, he's going to have to be way better than that projection has him looking like.
Yeah, because like him and Fried are basically like 1A and 1B at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And you need your 1A or 1B to be better than that.
Yeah, and I kind of think he will be. He's 32 years old. He's not ancient. He hasn't lost a lot off his fastball at all. I kind of think this projection is a little disrespectful to Carlos Rodon, to be quite honest with you. Carlos Rodon's a top-tier pitcher in this league. He is. I mean, he's a former Cy Young Award winner. Almost every year he was in the Cy Young contention. I don't think those projections are fair to him. I think he gets... quite honestly, an unwarranted amount of hate from Yankee fans sometimes. And last year, 16-9 with a 3.96 and 195 Ks. That's a good year. And I think from what they signed him for, they want more. But he's got the capability to have a really great season. And I think Fried kind of takes the pressure off of him a little bit. I'm a little confident in what Carlos Rodon's going to be able to do going forward.
Yeah, I predicted 17. He got 16. So
Close.
I kind of knew what he was going to do last season. I figured he'd have a bounce back season after 2023 because that was horrific for him. Peralta last year, 11-9 with a 3.68 ERA. He had 200 strikeouts. He wasn't great in spring training. Not that that's, I mean, yeah, you don't want that because an 8.56 ERA in 13 and 2/3 innings in 4 games, that's not great for your opening day starter.
No, at all.
No.
But the Brewers of this team, though, every year, Stacey, it feels like they find starters out of nowhere that all of a sudden have 2 ERAs. They do it all the time. So watch for all to have a great ERA. I do want to ask you this before we run, and happy opening day to everybody. You were someone who used to go to opening day almost every year. Now that you have, I guess, the experience, we'll call it, or the seniority when it comes to opening day, because I'm someone who's never been to an opening day game, actually.
And I've
do you find
19?
How many? Wow.
19.
Do you find it to be this great, unbelievable thing, or do you think it's more of a novelty?
I mean, it's more of a novelty, but I just like the whole putting in my day off months in advance. You know, everyone knew that I got that day off. And if I didn't, I would cause a stink. There was one day I didn't, and my boss was like, all right, I'll let you leave at 11. You can go up to the stadium. It's fine. I said, I'll come back and work till 8. I'll get my 8 hours in. I said, just let me go to the game. She's like, okay. Yeah, no, but I liked it because I just was so excited that baseball was starting. And, 03 was freezing. That was the Hideki Matsui Grand Slam. It was like 36 degrees at the start of the game. And I was dressed like I was doing the Iditarod. I was wearing an old down coat that I had from my Oswego days. I had the hood up. I had the scarf up to my face. They showed me on the Diamond Vision. You couldn't even see my eyes. You just saw my scarf. Meanwhile, my father, who served in the Army in Fairbanks, Alaska, was wearing like a leather bomber jacket, wide open, no gloves, no scarf. Like it was perfectly normal weather. And I was just like, oh my God. 2002, when Yes started, and most of the people in the stadium didn't have Yes because Cablevision wasn't showing Yes, and they started the Cablevision sucks chants. Like there are just certain things about being at opening day that I remember. A guy passing out one year, and we were passing cups to his friends, and they were piling the cups on his head because he was passed out. And people from the upper part of the upper deck were throwing things down to us to help build the pile on his head. Then the security guards stopped it from happening because, of course, they did. But I think it is a novelty, but I think you should experience it at least once, with the bunting on the side of the stadium and the paint on the side, and the first lineup announcement, they line up, and it's just, you got to experience it at least once.
I'd like to go once. I don't, to be honest with you, don't want to be a Debbie Downer here, but I don't see the big deal because it's one of 162.
Well,
and game 2, the funny thing is opening day is always like north of $150 to go to. And game 2 is like $12. It's crazy what you're spending to go to opening day, but I'll get there one day. I just wanted to get your take on it. Not that we're trying to poo-poo opening day if you guys are going.
Well, to be fair, opening day was included in my season ticket package, and I don't know if I would have gone to so many opening days if it
cost that much.
Right.
There you go.
Yeah. So it's opening day. Let's get excited, okay?
Enjoy
I know
it.
People are, a little hesitant to get excited about the baseball season. It's a long season. The team you see now is not the team you're going to see in September.
Maybe in July.
Yeah, who knows what's going to happen. Just let's all be excited that it's day 1 of 162. So thank you for making Locked On Yankees your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the Locked On MLB season previews, every contender, every division, everything you need to know. Find all 6 episodes on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts. So that'll do it for this edition of Locked On Yankees. I'm Stacey Gotsulias.
And I'm Brian McKeon. We'll catch you guys tomorrow.